Oh. Ta-da! Let there be light. Hi guys, what is up? Welcome to Flavored Vivid. For those of you guys new here, my name is Carissa. This video, I have actually had a lot of private DMs and requests recently about breakups, co-parenting, reintegration of new relationships, what it's like dealing with children and how I personally manage that. And because I've just had an influx, literally last night, I had like 4 messages from people that continued this morning. And I was like, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity. Do you want to let them out of the room?
Yeah, our dogs are going crazy.
They're wrestling. So I was like, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity to go live. And I think this is a great topic to talk about. Come here, babies. Our dogs are wrestling. So, okay, sorry about that. Hi guys, hello. But this video is going to be all about basically conscious relationships, breakups and breakthroughs, and integrating new relationships into your life. This is my partner, Francesca, for those of you guys that have never met her or possibly didn't click on her counseling criticism video. And we are going to be coming live pretty much weekly, possibly multiple times a week with just different topics. If you want to go over to my community board and drop some suggestions down, we would love that. But we do have a good list here. This one again was just inspired by my DMs because of the fact that you guys have watched me be very private with my relationships, and you have also watched me now publicly share my relationships. So I've gotten a lot of personal questions lately, and I just kind of wanted to come live and share that here. So first things first, I want to talk about parenting and relationships and what that's like, and then she's going to be able to add her value to that as well because she has a lot to add, especially with her experience here with my personal relationship. For those that don't know, I have 3 kids. I got divorced 6 years ago, and since then you guys have watched me be in like a long-term 3-year relationship. I never really announced the breakup or anything, but there was a breakup about a year ago. I spent a couple of months, pretty much a year, a few months here, almost a year, single. And I never really discussed it. I didn't like advertise or anything because during that stage I was healing. I was like mourning the loss of a relationship, obviously, even though it was my choice to break up in that relationship. And so we're going to talk about that as well, like what I feel and what is going through my mind and how I know it's time to kind of end that soul contract. We're going to go ahead and discuss so you guys watch me. I was in like a 3-month relationship that I was completely wrong about as well. So let's just start at the beginning here. After ending my 3-year relationship, so a question that I got today was, how did I know that I was done in that 3-year relationship? And honestly, I'm just going to read off exactly what I wrote to this person here because I feel like it works out really well. It, was worded right. But honestly, the way that I felt was I started losing myself. I found myself making more excuses. I found myself tolerating things that upset my nervous system. And I was compromising everything for the sake of a one-sided relationship. I felt like I was the only one putting in work, and I found myself begging for the bare minimum. I felt alone and terrified that I made major mistakes because obviously mom guilt really can consume you. We're not just making decisions for ourselves as single parents, mothers, or fathers. We're making decisions for our children as well, and our children are going to be heavily impacted by that. Growing up in a dysfunctional household, the only thing that I want for my children was stability. I grew up and my mother was a crackhead and my father was a narcissist. So if you can imagine, no matter which version I was raised in, I didn't have a good role model or system to really learn from. And so I'm learning how to navigate this journey on my own, just through my own personal experiences. The way that I integrate breakups here in my relationships with my children is I don't parent like a normal parent does. A normal parent, or what's considered normal, is pretty much handling everything privately so that your children don't bear the weight or the stress of the relationship, which I do not agree with. I'm not saying that they need to bear the weight or the stress. However, they are human and you do need to communicate with them. And so that's exactly what I do. Once I make a decision that a relationship relationship is no longer for me, I sit down and I communicate with my children. The thing is my children understand soul contracts. My children understand choosing happiness and healthy relationships versus settling. And I decided a long time ago during my divorce with a very abusive narcissist who had put me in the hospital at one point in time, that I would never settle and I would never tolerate an unhealthy dynamic ever again. And because of that, that forced me, or not even forced me, it was a choice, and I chose to stand up and be a proper leader for my children. Being a proper leader for my children meant showing them what it is like to consciously end connections and relationships, and how to recognize or discern when the right time is to do so. For me personally, again, like I said, I talk to my children about what soul contracts are. And I saved just a little screenshot off of the internet this morning just to kind of give a basis here of 10 facts about your soul contract. Is number 1, you choose your name and your date of birth. Number 2, your soul family helps you with healing. Number 3, life events help you with healing. Number 4, you have free will. Number 5, you choose your own death. Number 6, you're not alone. You have access to spirit guides and angels. Number 7, synchronicity occurs to guide you. Number 8, you can break a soul contract. Again, that goes back to number 4, you have free will. You can break a soul contract. Number 9, you can clear karmic debt. And number 10, you can clear ancestral agreements. So by explaining this and breaking this down to my children, I pretty much use just a basic platform, just like I read out loud to you here, to break that down to my children. Soul contracts include agreements that you have with individuals that you come in contact with. So by explaining experiences to my children and letting them know, hey, listen, one of my major life lessons in this lifetime is that not everyone is going to be permanent. However, they do, have an impact in our life for not just myself, but for you guys as well. It's for their soul development. They chose me as their mother before they ever reincarnated. And so there's not really, I don't carry any guilt or shame when it comes to that. Another thing that I would really like to address here. So first thing, you talk to your children and you address soul contracts with them so that they have a greater or higher understanding of what our human experience truly involves for our soul's evolution, which is really important. Another thing is, like, yesterday I was seeing this, and although it's not relatable to me personally, I think it's a good subject to touch on. There was like a funny meme going around, and it showed up like 3 or 4 times, which honestly disappointed me that certain people shared it, because I was like, that's just a very low vibrational way of thinking. But it was making fun of the people basically that go through 3 relationships in an 18-month period and have the bravery to share that with other people, where they're consistently falling in love and they're like, I can't even pick out a Netflix show or whatever it says, right? The thing is you are literally shaming other people for your lack of vulnerability. Just because you're afraid, let me say that again, you're afraid of publicizing your failure, you are now putting that shame onto other individuals here because of their failure. And then there's this collective trauma response of, we can't fail, we have to be perfect.
Maybe that actually kind of ties in. We just watched the Pamela Anderson documentary on Netflix, and like, she actually kind of touched
huge
base.
Pamela fan. Like, where do you think my titties came from? Pamela, we love you.
That's actually why we watched it. Like, we were gonna watch something else, and then she saw that, and she's just like, I was like, yeah, we're gonna put on the Pamela video. But the point of that is, like, she'd been married like 5 times, and like literally had met one of her husbands and got married in like 48 hours afterwards. Not saying that that's the rule for everyone, but the big thing that she talked about is that I'm never going to take on external values and shame for how I love and who I choose to love, and that I'm going to continuously choose to love, throughout all of like the men that she had dated. And she had such like an elevated consciousness in that. Like, she was like, even if I've gotten hurt X amount of times, it's not going to make me stop loving and caring about the people that I am. And her whole life was publicized. It wasn't really a choice for her.
Right.
But,
and honestly, for me, that's why I've decided to stand up, and I'm like, you know what, I'm no longer going to keep my love life private anymore. I don't think that's beneficial to anyone, honestly. I think that it hinders the personal relationship because it doesn't bring forth the challenges that maybe our soul had signed up for. You know, like challenges like evil eye, challenges of jealousy or envy, you know, and that's something that her and I have personally discussed, and we are more than, you know, willing to face those adversaries together and really talk through things. And I feel like her and I are both consciously just at a level where we are able to kind of take on that energy, transmute it, and send it back out with love. It's not something that we carry around. It's not something that impacts our relationship. We actually never argue. Honestly, if we have a certain different opinions, we discuss them. All of that is beside the point, though. Let's go ahead and go in. So you guys had watched.
One question
Yes.
was earlier. It was earlier, but while we're kind of talking about disagreements and processing, I think it was Olivia had asked. She probably had said that their partner had just left them for a woman, and how great that this partner is, and all of that. And they had asked any advice on how to handle that situation.
True unconditional love is unconditional. That means without condition. And if you truly love somebody, all you're going to want for them is to see them thrive and find the best version of themselves, even if that means that it's not necessarily with you. And as heartbreaking as that can feel or be, am I misunderstanding the question?
No, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. As heartbreaking as that can be, it's about sitting with our emotions and honoring what are your emotions showing you within that moment and that experience here. Are they showing you your levels of attachment? Are they showing you where you could detach a little bit? Because detachment is a key law to manifestation. Are they showing you certain experiences that you've outgrown and that just no longer serve you? It has nothing to do with another person being better than you. Although we do seem to think like that, like, what's wrong with me? This person's better than me. They're prettier. They cook better. They do this. They do that. No, look at all the famous people as a prime example here. You know, that get cheated on. Look at Beyonce here. She is
Mariah Carey.
Right.
Yeah.
Like all these beautiful individuals that get cheated on. It doesn't matter who you are, what you have, what you look like. It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with your guys' soul contract. And so recognizing that is going to be heavily important, you know, in that time frame here. That way you're not carrying that guilt, or you're not shaming yourself, and you're not condemning yourself to a certain way of being, thinking, or doing. You're also not hindering yourself. You see, the one thing about me, as I was, you know, talked with her about this, is I pretty much have like a 3-year mark when I get in serious relationships. Not 3 years, that's just my cycle, and I've noticed that pattern within my life and within my birth chart. Is at the 3-year mark, I recognize, is this relationship serving me or is it not serving me any longer? And from that point, I then sit with myself, I sit with my emotions, I observe instead of react, and I move forward from that point with whatever decision that I have made. And in which case, my last 3-year relationship, you guys have always heard me, and if you haven't and you're new here, I had always mentioned how I'm never going to get married, because deep down inside on a soul level, I knew that I was never going to marry that person. I knew that they were a soul contract. And when I broke up with that person, and I did mention it because somebody had asked me in the comments section, you know, I had mentioned that that contract was done, it was completed, it was finished. Now, when I came into alignment with Francesca, obviously that immediately changed, and I was like, I know that I meant to be with you long term. I know that I meant to marry you. So that's something that I'm more open to this time around, because my soul understands that differently. Are you thinking about the bed? Fuck. Okay, do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, sure.
So I say this, but like I said, I'm open to the idea. So let me like preface her story with I'm open to the idea. Doesn't mean that I'm 100% for it yet. Chill.
And also, actually, before this was something that we discussed. Like, that she's like, I never want to get married again. Like, that's not something I want. And she's kind of like warmed up to the idea. Not that I pressured her. This was something that she kind of came to on her own, you know. But that being said, with the background of her being like, I'm not going to marry anyone, not about it, you know, she was filming videos the other day, and for whatever reason, I was kind of just like house husband vibe. So I would just like.
She's not a house husband. She builds robots and
Yeah.
has a job and everything, you guys.
Yeah.
She just also works from home, so we both work from home. Just
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Although trophy husband material for sure.
Yeah. So we had showered and I just decided to like dress up fancy that day. So I wore like these gray slacks and a purple button up, and had like cleaned the house and done all these things. And she had come back in from a client or something, and was sitting on the bed, and she was just like, why are you wearing fancy clothes like this? And I was like, you know, I really think it's time that this attire is good enough, and I think it's time to propose. And I like, you know, made a stupid joke, but she just like went into complete panic mode.
I was like, no.
For me, I was like, of course, babe, I'm never gonna fucking to propose to you, laying sideways on our bed, just being like, I think now's the time. So like for me, it was like, she's gonna know I'm joking, but she was just like, no, panic, complete flight response. She's just like, jump out the window, it's time to go. And she's like, I didn't think I was gonna have such a visceral reaction. I was like, but that's a good gauge. Like clearly, we're not ready for that.
No, I just had a different idea, and we've already discussed that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just have a different idea of what the proposal would be like, and it's definitely not when I'm not wearing makeup and looking haggardly and after taking on a bunch of clients for the day. That's just not the ideal. But yeah, I had a very intense response to that. So that showed her the gauge of kind of like where I'm at. But that doesn't take away from the fact like we actually do plan on getting married, and we plan on anyways, that's a different video. We're not here to talk about that. But so let's go ahead and talk about the fact that I announced a relationship here. I was in, so after spending months single, after my 3-year breakup here, and integrating that and spending a lot of time healing from that, because it does require healing, even if it was my conscious decision to end that connection and relationship. We're not here to talk about why that relationship ended. I had made decisions because I knew that it was the end of that soul contract. I talked with my kids, and then I spent pretty much the next like 9 months single. I spent my whole summer single, and nobody really knew about it because I don't really publicize things like that. I don't really feel like it's for the public. However, I do see where that doesn't benefit anybody now, and I am going to, be changing that, and that's why I'm so open to sharing my relationships now. I had publicly posted a 3-month relationship, and that relationship, although it lasted 3 months, again, the number 3, very significant to me if you can see the pattern there. They were long distance the majority of the time, and we were flying back and forth from New York to where I live. And right at the beginning of the relationship, I read a quote yesterday. I was like, that's so great, because it's the truth right at the beginning of the relationship. So I read the quote, and it said something along the lines of the warning signs that you see at the beginning of the relationship are going to be the reasons that you end the relationship. And the warning signs at the beginning were the fact that we were always arguing. Like, it was always something, just literally, a piece of dust could fly through the air and we would find a way to argue about that. And I genuinely thought, because I don't pull cards in my own relationships. I know that's hard to believe, but I really don't. I'm not sitting there like constantly pulling cards or watching external readings or anything like that. I go based off my emotions, and I fully immerse myself in my current experiences. And so I genuinely thought, okay, maybe it's the distance. So this person, I flew them again in, and this time they weren't going back home. Like, they were coming to live with me. While they lived with me, it was honestly like 3 weeks, maybe. It wasn't very long, and the entire relationship was very tumultuous. It was to the point where my children, who have 100%, my children are very vocal. They will tell you they're feeling.
Yes.
They will tell you, like, if I sit there and I say, like, okay, I'm not asking you about that or something like that, my kids will fucking correct me, and they'll be like, I'm trying to explain my emotions right now.
Oh my gosh,
like,
yeah.
I want to be validated in my emotions, and they are very vocal about that. So again, I don't raise my children the way most people do. I raise my children consciously in a way where they have a platform to share their voice. As a child, I was silenced. I grew up on the kids are meant to be seen and not heard rule, right? We always had to be outside. It wasn't safe for us to be in the house, things of that sort here. So my children have an entirely different platform in life where they can express themselves. And in my 3-month relationship, they expressed themselves and said, Mom, I don't think you're happy. I think this relationship is toxic. You guys are arguing all the time. And that was a huge eye-opener. So at that point in time, I realized that I was like, yeah, this isn't right. This isn't good for me. Like, I fucked up. And there was a lot of guilt that came over me. There was a lot of shame. I had just publicly announced my relationship after keeping it private. So of course there's that like fear of what's everyone gonna think about me. And then I integrated a lot, and I realized it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks about me, because I'm the one that's bravely and courageously living my life while other people are so afraid to fall in love again, while other people are afraid of what failure looks like. I love being a prime example of failure. I have no problem creating that for others.
While on the bit of failure too, yes, not being afraid of failure isn't even the right word, because I mean that's come up for us, like within our relationship, like that's something we've both expressed, especially with the relationships that we previously like came out of it, within the last year or so, where it's like one of the things I told her is like, I'm really scared to fuck this up. Like I'm totally scared to fuck this up because I care a lot about the connection and relationship and all of that, but the difference being like not allowing fear to control the choices that you make, So an option she could have done is like, oh, I just posted this relationship, maybe I should just like wait to break it off or see if it works, because like how embarrassing would that be if I had to go back on what I just said. But like she knew what was true in her heart and what felt good to her and what felt good to her kids, and she's like, well, fuck that, like I'm not gonna allow that fear or external influences to have me change what my perspective or what I know is true to me, which is the basis of what we're talking about, and like why there is even that conversation between like, should you publicly post your relationship or not, and if that bond is
and honestly enough. I don't have any shame. I genuinely was bamboozled, and I genuinely thought that this person was something that they weren't. And that's okay, because sometimes that happens and people come to us and they wear this mask, and it's not entirely that person's fault at all. It's my fault, because I wasn't paying attention to the red flags. I was making excuses for them, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. I'm sure we all have done that at one point in time, and that's okay. That is part of our soul's journey, and that connection taught me so much. It taught me everything that I know I didn't want. It taught me that I can stand up for myself and honor my boundaries in a healthy way. I mean, that person came to my YouTube, they stalked my email, text messages on both my phones. Like, this person, I had to threaten a restraining order to show, just show like how tumultuous that connection was. And it was so bad. And later down the line, this was literally like a couple days ago, I had somebody who knew that person and was like, oh yeah, I can't believe you ever dated them. This, I bet they said this and this and this and this and this about me. They do that about everyone. This person has a pattern of doing that. But you see, the thing is when we don't know somebody on that level, because it takes 3 months, psychologically, it takes 3 months, okay, to actually fully get to know somebody, in all ways. And so on a psychological basis, that's why it's best to kind of wait 3 months to move in. We did not wait 3 months. We did not wait 3 months. No. But we're also doing things a lot differently, because we have, it's safe. It's safe to do so for us. However, we both know what safety looks like, or what it feels like to us, and we're both really good at honoring our emotions in regards to that.
And I think that there's a lot of external societal pressure on what a time frame for everything should be. And that, for me, was actually something that I kind of struggled with a little bit. Like, I actually kind of got validated by my friend the other day. Like, we were talking about some choices that we're making moving forward, and my friend's like, well, me and my husband, like, we literally moved in together after 4 weeks, and like we just knew. And there's connections that are like that. Some of them you just know instantaneously that this is something you want to move forward with and that feels safe and good, and other ones are not like that. Some of them, and not saying one's right or wrong, sometimes it takes longer to develop that connection, and that's what's right. But for us, it was something that was a very conscious choice, and
we couldn't wait to U-Haul. Typical lesbians. We U-Hauled the fuck out of our relationship.
Okay. Might be typical for you, baby, but it's not for me. Okay.
You literally don't. No, it is very typical for her.
That's not true.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. She came from an ex's house, so don't let her lie to you.
But when I moved in, that person wasn't an ex, or I wasn't dating that person. I didn't move in with that person as like a couple. It just kind of progressed that way after the fact.
Yes, it was. Anyways, different dynamics.
Yeah, actually, Chris is the first partner that I ever like consciously had that discussion with prior to, and was like, let's move in together. So that's why I say it's abnormal for me.
Yes, I think we decided that at the treehouse.
No, we had that conversation, but it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, though. Anyways, so when I, went into that and there was that breakup again, initially there was those emotions and those reactions in which I had to sit and observe them and ask myself, like, am I ashamed of this or no? Because I put my heart on the line, and I know no matter what, I give my all, even if my all means triggering things within a partner that are very uncomfortable, not only for myself, but for other individuals involved. So again, I'd rather lead by example. Now, when I because of the fact that I did move this person in and it being toxic, again, that mom guilt and that shame really kicked in for me. And me and my children all have a group chat together, even though they're in my house. And I was messaging them on the group chat and, apologizing to them for putting them through this and how quickly it fell apart as well, which I didn't foresee coming or happening because I genuinely was convinced in my mind that the only reason that there was problems in the first place was because of the distance, which was not. So just for anybody out there, if you're having problems and you're at a distance, it's probably not best to move forward until you guys can resolve those issues, because that definitely was not the answer for me. And so I can speak from experience there, and now I have that experience because before I wouldn't have that advice to give. And so this is where we learn and we teach from our experiences, right? And so obviously after that, and my kids, they responded in such a way that made me cry harder because they're so mature. My children are very mature for their ages. And, they said, Mom, we just want you in a healthy and happy connection. And whatever it is that makes you happy, that's what we want for you. And that opened my eyes there because I was like, I'm never gonna date again. I'm so sorry. Like, I fucked up. This was ridiculous, and I was guilting and shaming myself here because I felt all those emotions so intensely. And when they responded like that, I was like, they're right. Like, I do deserve to be happy. And I'm the one that freaking am that role model for them, and I need to show them what happiness looks like. And they know that when I'm at my happiness and I'm at my best version of myself, I'm better for them and I have more energy to share with them. And I'm not laying in bed anxious or depressed or lonely. There are no emotions that maybe we don't consciously talk about with our children as parents, right? That are floating around my home and my environment here. So and honestly, we didn't plan on like meeting. It's not like we both intentionally put ourselves out there. I think we were just both manifesting a partner. I know I had actually explained to her today that I was just gonna be single again, and I was just gonna, that's why in my stuff, I was just like, let's just be friends first. And I really thought that that's what I wanted. But I think it was like the second time we hung out, I was like, I am obsessed with you. Like, I can't get enough. Okay. Whatever.
It was the first time we hung out. I don't know why you're trying to give yourself an extra
The first time we
visit.
hung out, she literally came over and did laundry at my house. It was, and she was so intense. Like, usually I'm the intense one, but she kept like leaning towards me, and her body language was always turned towards me, like showing her interest in me. And I would like scoot farther away on the couch. I was so nervous. I've never met anybody more intense than myself. So
the eye contact thing still.
Still working on it. Yeah, I'm always like, why are you staring at me like that? Because it brings up certain things within me that other people have triggered wounds in. Regardless, though, so working with your children is a key factor when it comes to breakups here. How did I know I was ready to break up? Again, I felt it in every single part of my body. every single part. My emotions, maybe you're physically getting sick, you're finding yourself depressed, lost, confused. If you have any doubt, you might be in a position in which you might need to break up with your partner. Now, I'm not saying, that as like a discard culture either. I'm not talking about discarding people and not remaining patient with your partner as they grow, transform, and evolve. However, sometimes you're growing, transforming, and evolving, and your partner is not. And at which case, you have to have that discernment and know when the right time is for you to move on, and to move forward in that space. And that's where a lot of decision making comes into play here. And that's where you learn yourself, you learn your own boundaries, your wants, your needs, desires, you learn to honor them. And a lot of people don't truly know how to honor their boundaries. So let's see, reintegrating a new relationship. So let's go ahead and talk about the reintegration. How the heck do we integrate? This was a question I got last night, was how do I introduce people to my children? And honestly, first things first is I have a discussion with my children. My children always come first, and your children should be your priority here if you have kids. I think that's really important. I had discussions with my friends. I had discussions with my kids. I had discussions with people that mean the most to me and people whose opinions I value. Again, let me say this. People whose opinions I value. Which is important, because there's a lot of people that are going to have opinions and their opinions are not valuable. They're very subjective to their own personal experiences, or they're very one-sided and narrow. They are not of higher consciousness, things of that sort, okay? So, discern who you're asking when you're talking to these people. But for me, again, my children and my friends all said the same thing. Carissa, you deserve to be happy. So, make sure you're just choosing somebody that's right for you. So introducing them to my kids at first, of course, I personally like to introduce it as like a friend. Honestly, this is my friend here. And we take it very slow. I like to gather the opinions. What do you think about this person? And that's kind of during the initial stages of how is this person going to interact. It's kind of like a testing stage. Like, you've got to test the waters. How do my kids interact to this situation? And she has a lot of input that she's going to add here. But another thing is, I don't just integrate it with my children or my friends. I also have a baby daddy, right? They have a father. So integrating it with him is very important as well. At first, because my baby daddy still has a tendency to be toxic at times, and that's okay. He was texting my daughter and was like, hey, I know your mom's in a relationship. You can tell me the truth. And, my daughter was like, I think that you should ask mom. Because we don't bring our children into it, right? We don't bring those things, we don't use our children as pawns for answers that we want. So by her saying that, he then came to me. Took him like 2 more days, but he came to me and I told him straight up, yes, I am in a relationship, and I would like you to meet this person. So we all had a sit down talk. And they met, and the first thing that my baby daddy did when he left our house was text me and say, I can tell that she's really good for you. I like her. As long as she's good to you and the kids, I'm really happy for you. So it was really nice to have that situation, because he's a pretty good judge of character, actually. Narcissists are great judge of character. They really are. I can promise that. And I'm not calling him a narcissist. I think that he has narcissistic tendencies based on his past that he's currently outgrowing and evolving past. So he is a great person, and I do value him and his opinion a lot. And then their dynamic, obviously, and that's where she's going to come perspective of what it's like. She doesn't have children. She doesn't have a baby daddy. She's never been with a man. So, what that's like coming into a connection and how she handles it with the children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
sit back here.
I think that there's a huge responsibility for sure, coming into a connection and a partnership where there are children involved, because it's not just immediately the person that you're with that is impacted by that. Especially with her kids in particular, they're very open. They're very loving. They're very accepting. Like there's and it varies from dynamic kids to kids, what level of trauma they have, how they've grown up. And I think that discerning that is really important when integrating into a family, and as opposed to a partnership. So for me, the way that I kind of look at it is that there are different dynamics with each of her kids. They're all at very different stages in their development. They're at very different levels of consciousness. For instance, like her youngest, is very, very attached to me. He has this. He has kind of put on the idea of me as like the third parent kind of thing, and he has kind of embodied that.
They call her mom or dad.
Yeah,
they're constantly like, I love you, can I have a hug?
Yeah, especially the youngest. And so there's a level of intentionality and care with him specifically because he has me as kind of more of like the parental role in his mind, whereas her older kids, they do still kind of look at me in that parental role and have that. We're working on the level of respect there, but they're a little bit more detached from it versus the youngest. So not only I think is there an importance in how you perceive yourself in the relationship and with a connection with the kids, like it's one thing for you to be like, oh, I'm just like the partner, but if the child has a view of you of holding you on a higher regard of like a parent or things, you need to also be able to kind of shift and put yourself in a role of higher responsibility, regardless if it's one
being that role model.
Yeah, but regardless if it's one that you necessarily want to take on, it's one that you have to be considerate of and conscious of when you're in a relationship with a partner. And I mean, not all partnerships are like that. There's certain partnerships that they have kids and they want complete hands off, and their kids want like completely hands off, like you're not my fucking parent, da 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 da. And that's a different dynamic and a different discussion. But because her kids are very open and very accepting, they're very much kind of like in the moment with how love works for them, that needs to be handled differently. So.
And again, I feel like my children are very open, just to explain that, because they understand soul contracts. Mm-hmm. Now, if they didn't have that basis or that understanding, maybe my relationships would make them guarded. Maybe the relationships or the experiences that they had would, feel like they have to protect themselves or like they have to, carry like some sort of burden of not being able to connect with others. But because they understand soul connections and soul contracts, they understand relationships and how they work, and that not everyone is permanent, but everyone does add value in their own unique way, whether that value is chaotic or safe. And because of that, they have an easier time integrating and being open to the dynamic, and it definitely helps that she's very conscious. She knows how to read my children. She'll sit down with them, like when they, my 6-year-old was acting out at school for a week straight, and so she sat down with him. I couldn't get it out of him, but she found out that he was being bullied by one of the kids in his class. And that's because she took the time to really sit with my child. And so she also built a lot of safety, not just within our dynamic together, but within the dynamic individually with each and every kid. She's taken the time to bond. Her and my oldest, they've bonded over their love for anime and things of that sort here. And so they really connect on that level and they understand each other through that. My daughter and her connect over drawing. They're both incredible artists and they connect through that. And she's like given her, pencils and sat down and drawing with her. And my youngest, again, they've connected through other means. And she's been very adaptable throughout each and every connection with them. So that's very important here when you are integrating new relationships or new people into your connections, into your life, to make sure that they're adaptable and not such a fixed or set in stone energy with a fixed expectation, because like she said, every child is going to be different. Every household is going to be different,
and even the experiences that those children internalize. You could literally have them sitting right next to each other, say the exact same thing, and it's completely internalized in a different way. The experience is completely different. It doesn't matter if you're fucking twins or whatever, like whatever it is, you know, and that's just how your mind is melded in different ways. And I think that's a really important thing for children, just because there's a higher level of responsibility, but I mean with any person that you're connecting with.
Absolutely. So when it comes to integration, it's about patience, it's about compassion, and it's about understanding each and every dynamic that's built. And I say patience because it's not going to be built overnight, you know, and there are going to be challenges. My children, yesterday, my oldest son was literally yelling at her over chores, yelling at her. And, you know, I had to intervene because poor thing, she's like becoming overstimulated and overwhelmed, and she doesn't know how to handle that. She's never been like a mother in that role before, right? She doesn't have her own children. And so that's where I intervened, and I just let her know, like, hey, you've done the best possible at this point in time, though. He's working you. He is consciously manipulating you, and he's very good at doing that. And I had explained that to her because I could see her energy level like a battery just, you know? And she was like shutting down. Like it came to the point where she was just like sitting on the bench like, I'm getting yelled at right now.
It wasn't even like that, but yeah, it was the siphoning of energy. And I mean, with that too, I think that that's a great point to mention, is that there's so much that you can learn coming into a relationship and a family like that. Like there's so many things that I've learned about myself and where my boundaries are, because her kids are very much like, where are your boundaries? Can I test them? And they're still kind of learning their own too. So like, because they're not quite at that level of consciously being aware of what their boundaries are, and also what respecting boundaries are for other people, it's an opportunity for me and Carissa actually to reinstill those boundaries. And also just a consistent level of consistency and discipline, you know, like with little things. Like we have a rule where it's like the kids have to knock on the door before they just like barge in, and that's something that when I came in they were a lot less they weren't very good at it. And now it's like every single time that they come in without knocking, I'm like, okay, try it again, knock, because it's something that is a boundary that needs to be respected. So that's another thing with like the integration, at least with her kids, where it's very much everyone relearning boundaries and also learning how this dynamic works with all of us.
So again, patience. Patience is so important here, especially with children that just don't really know better. You know, they're learning, they're evolving, they're growing, and again, you are their role model. So as long as you always prioritize your happiness, as long as you consciously keep them involved, and I say consciously because it does take consciousness. A lot of times when things happen to us, we want to shut down and just go hibernate in our room and go through our emotions, and our friends are trying to get us out of the house to make us feel better about our relationships ending, and there's so many things that are happening that we tend to like put our children at the back burner, or we do the exact opposite and we overcompensate for our children because of our own guilt and shame, which again is not the proper response either. The proper response is, what I've found, is keeping them a part of that. And again, the soul contract thing. See, we have signed up with multiple people in this lifetime here, or some of us, it's not even multiple people. And the thing is, for me, is like what she said with the Pamela Anderson thing, how Pamela was like, I'm not going to give up on love just because I've had 5 failed marriages, you know? And I'm not same way. Like, I'm not afraid of love. And you could literally, Juliet, back up, baby. Juliet's getting jealous because we got puppy over here. We've got Jupiter. This is our baby. He's getting big. We, you know, I'm never going to give up on love. Like, I'm not afraid to be hurt. I feel like pain is a huge part of love and learning and exploring the deepest depths of ourselves, testing our own personal boundaries, our wants, our needs, our desires. And I don't think that's something that anybody should give up. I feel like somebody here who is continuously putting themselves on the line to potentially be hurt is a lot braver, okay, and smarter and more experienced than somebody who's like, I'm never dating again and I'm gonna be single for the next 3 years of my life, and they're trying to control the situation instead. And because of that control, they're missing out on life learning experiences that their soul signed up to evolve with and through.
That was literally me before I started my healing journey. I was like, fuck everyone. I don't want a relationship. Or I was just like, I'm just not ready for it. And it took me starting my healing journey before I actually was open to that. And then I got to a point where it was like I didn't have an attachment one way or the other. And the relationships that were meant for me just kind of came. Mm-hmm. And when those opportunities came, because I wasn't so attached to not being in it or judging myself for where I was, it just was everything that was supposed to be.
Absolutely. And for me personally, I don't know about you, but you're going to leave this place with only what your soul has learned. Mm-hmm. So if your soul has only learned hustle mode and matrix mindset and burying yourself and work and everything else to distract you from everything that your soul truly desires, you haven't learned shit. And you're going to leave here and you're going to repeat it in the next lifetime. Mm-hmm. And that, for me, is not something that I'm just willing to do. I don't like coming back here. Like, when people tell me they've had thousands of reincarnations as a human, I'm like, so you failed that many times? You fucked up that, like, how long does it take it to get through your dense ass skull right there, okay? Because that's judgy, not something...
A little judgy, okay? We all have different learning curves. Don't let her shame you.
She's had thousands of reincarnations, so she's just projecting right now. No, and it's just, you know, we've all, it's just not something where personally, like, I know that I'm a very, very old soul, and one thing that I've taken from each and every lifetime are those deep memories, like when we have past life soul regression therapy and things like that sort, and those things come up. Do you remember driving around in a Lamborghini? No. You remember the tragic heartbreak that you experienced. You remember really horrible freaking things. You remember what your soul has learned.
Or what your soul's held on to.
Right.
From trauma that then needs to be healed in the next lifetime.
In this lifetime. And that's why it's coming up in this lifetime.
Yeah. Which is why past life regressions can be a mixed bag. You know, sometimes you like people, when you do past life regressions, sometimes you can reinstill trauma from a previous life that you didn't need to necessarily deal with. So
and that's where free will comes in, of course. Yeah. Nobody's telling you guys to go do that. I'm just using that as an example here. Soul contracts are really important to understand within yourself. Why would you sign up for that experience? Why would I sign up for the most tumultuous 3-month relationship that activated my CTPSD in a matter of seconds? Like, my whole nervous system, the entire relationship was distraught, like constantly sending out those like the plane's going down type of warnings here. Mayday, exactly, like SOS. And I was like screaming inside, right? Why would my soul sign up for that though? And honestly, it was perfect because it prepped me for everything in the relationship that I do have now. And I needed that. I needed that direction. I needed that reminder, because my 3-year relationship wasn't like that. It didn't test my boundaries. It didn't challenge me. And that's a huge part of the reason why it was just over with. My soul was not evolving in that connection. It was no longer for my highest good. It was stifling my highest good.
And there should, I feel like, be a clarification there when she says like test my boundaries. It's not your safety boundaries.
No,
you know,
no. Yeah.
What you mean is to challenge her growth. And there's a difference between like challenging someone in a healthy way and doing it in a unhealthy way. Right. You know? And that's why she's saying the 3-month relationship challenging her nervous system. And yeah, you can grow through that way. Absolutely. Like I've definitely grown through the painful way. And I mean, I've subscribed to the pain matrix a lot in my life, unfortunately, but that's something that both of us struggle with and unlearning, but
we're sadomasochists, so
yeah. One of us have more of the sado than the masochist part. You can decide who that is. Yeah, but you know, it is a way that you can grow, but it is not the only way. You know, you can grow through safety, and there's different ways that you can challenge yourself versus being stuck in a pain matrix.
And we can also learn through a pleasure matrix. So like for me, a pleasurable way is when we're very intimate. She has the most intense eye contact. You would think that this bitch is a Scorpio. She's not. She is not. But she has out Scorpioed the fuck out of my stellium, okay? And she looks at me so intensely and she holds the eye contact to where I break it because I'm nervous. Or, you know, I'll literally say out loud, like, why are you staring at me? And it starts making me, you know, feel like insecure because in the past, you know, I've had previous experiences where a partner's staring at me and then they say something really fucking rude or something, right? And I'm like, great, then she's figuring out that I'm a little ugly. Like, you know?
She figured it out.
She figured it out.
It was in this moment.
And those are real feelings and emotions that kind of come up. And so, you know, part of like being in a new relationship as well is, you know, learning to allow somebody to see into you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, allowing her, and that was a pleasurable way of learning. And, you know, I'd much rather learn with somebody who makes me feel very safe and secure, and I know is not, you know, trying to test my safety, rather than learning from somebody who, yeah, keep them off screen though.
I know.
Okay, thank you, sorry. Rather than learning from somebody who, you know, I don't feel safe with, and who doesn't make me feel good in that way. So it's been really important here. Does anybody have any questions though? I'd like to go ahead and like open up the chat. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's open up the chat here. Well, it is open, but I know a lot of you guys were writing or typing questions while I was talking at the beginning. I tend to talk through everything because I have the worst case of ADD that you will ever know. I've been very open about that on my channel. She sees it on a daily basis here, and that's another thing. I feel so safe. Like I can be like, that was my ADD, sorry. And you know, she's like, I already understand, baby, you're good, you don't need to apologize about it. She always reaffirms that for me. It's like, I don't need to apologize for these things.
I think it helps that I probably also have some level of ADD, ADHD.
Yes.
Just not diagnosed, but
mine was diagnosed a long time ago, and I was on like 150 milligrams of Adderall, and I haven't been on Adderall for 6 years now though. It's awesome. But anyways, so that requires a lot of meditation. So we did have a question here.
We had a couple of them. I tried to keep them in my brain, but
I know I'm okay. So enjoying the journey 33 asked, cheating forgiveness. Cheating forgiveness comes within forgiving yourself because you have now condemned yourself to certain things, self-imposed, you know, requirements here. You tell yourself like, I'm not good enough. You know, I'm not. I didn't do this. I didn't give them enough sex. I didn't give them enough intimacy. You know, I didn't do these things here. And we tend to condemn ourselves and play small. And so forgiveness is not even about the other person. Fuck them. Fuck them for cheating on you. That is not acceptable at all. And I'm so sorry that you experienced that. I think we've all experienced that at one point in time. However,
I think their Scorpio is showing.
No, fuck them.
I know.
Fuck them. Let's rage.
Okay, like, no.
Plot their demise. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I will destroy you.
I will destroy you.
Okay, so yes, forgiveness is
about self.
It's about self.
Because it has nothing to do with you. And honestly, the person who cheats is typically insecure or unhappy. And that has, again, nothing to do with you because happiness is not outside of yourself. And so for me, forgiveness has always been recognizing that I'm not the fucking problem in that current experience. Okay? Revenge didn't help. Enjoying the journey. I know. I'm just fucking kidding. I would never suggest that, truly. I'm just joking with that and bringing a little lighthearted energy. And that's typically how I talk to people, and you guys all know it and see it on my channel.
Yeah. The forgiveness of them does help though too. Like, not saying that what they did is something that you should let slide. It shouldn't. You should definitely hold yourself firm in whatever your boundaries are. And if them cheating is like deal breaker, no. That's not what forgiveness means for others. Forgiveness means that you're not holding on to the attachment of the pain, you know, which is really about forgiving yourself too, you know?
Again, it rotates right back around to forgiveness of self.
But being like, fuck them, da-da-da-da, that's like an energetic charge of you not releasing what that experience was, you know? And that's where there's...
But it's also, the reason when I say fuck them, though, it's not that I have an energetic charge towards it. You know, for me, that's saying, no, fuck them. That was wrong. I acknowledge that. However, I also acknowledge it's my responsibility for my own happiness. And that's where the forgiveness of self really comes in. So that's genuinely what I mean by this. But of course, I like to put it in a funny way and make people laugh and be lighthearted about it. Because, my inner child always wants to come out and have a say here. So it can come out in a way where it can be taken or perceived the wrong way. So I do like that actually kind of made a little roundabout there. That was great.
Yeah, and I know that you don't have the charge attached to it.
No.
She's like literally one of the most forgiving people. Like some of the things that you've forgiven, and I just, whatever. Not here, neither here nor there. But I just say that because I know were I like watching you, I'd be like, oh. Yeah, fuck them, because I'm, like, I can have the attachment sometimes. Like, I have to sometimes work. I mean, I've gotten a lot better.
And the attachment's okay. Don't condemn yourself for that at all. Letting go and releasing is one of the hardest things for a soul to do, and a hardest lesson to integrate as a human.
And it's literally, I would say, one of the ones that we just continuously learn over and over and over again, just in different forms, right? I mean, that's like, maybe your attachment is, well, fuck them. They deserve to be punished for whatever it is. Maybe your attachment is, oh, I really love this person and we had such a beautiful relationship.
Can we talk about that? The whole they deserve to be punished. That is not the truth. And listen, if you want somebody to get their karma, detach.
Yes.
Detach. Because the longer that you hold resentment to it and send them evil eye, more bad is going to happen to you because you haven't integrated the lesson. So many people are like, I can't wait for them to get the karma. Well, guess what? You're going to be relating fucking lifetimes.
Yeah.
Lifetimes here, because you're the one that hasn't fully integrated the experience. And I always tell people that. That's why I'm not a firm believer in revenge or anything. Like, I can make jokes about it and stuff like that, but the thing is I have a very joking, childish nature about me, and that's just who I am. However, I can't tell you a single ex, literally not even the person that put me in the hospital here, pretty much almost killed me, like, even that person, I don't wish them bad in life. And because of that here, they've gotten shit ton of karma here. And have I been able to witness some of it? Yes. And sometimes it makes me really uncomfortable because I don't like seeing it. I don't like seeing people in pain. I feel like I'm a lot stronger of a person and I can tolerate a lot more pain. And I genuinely enjoy pain. So
we were taught to enjoy pain because that's how you cope when you're inflicted with pain. Let's turn it into pleasure.
Right. And so now I found other outlets like BDSM or something like that, where I can actually still experience that pain that I enjoy in a very safe environment with a conscious individual who actually understands that. And that'll be a whole nother video. We will make a video on that.
Yeah, or series, actually, I think. That's something we've talked about, is like exploring more of that. But anyways, yeah. There was another question. Comment. There was a couple of them. There was one about soul ties and how do you properly break soul ties. But before that,
that's a good one. Let's answer the soul ties one, then we'll keep going back.
Well, this one is just tied into like someone had made a comment about like basically cheating as a way to expand yourself past where you are, and that is true. That sometimes there's connections or soul connections that you're meant to be cheated on in that, or meant to learn that lesson. Sometimes it's just people being fucking shit, though. Sometimes it's not about like you expanding past it. Sometimes people are just making those choices, and that
because they're just really fucked up individuals.
Because they're fucked up, or maybe that's their way of breaking a contract as well.
Perfect.
Which then ties into the previous question, which is how do you consciously break a soul tie? And you can do that in many ways. You can do it through cord cutting. You can do it through
conscious conversations. Conversations with God, the universe, your spirit guides, your higher self.
I mean, you could
write down a petition and burn the fuck out of it.
You could do it through sheer fucking stubbornness. In fact,
anything from our ex-partners that we still had in our possession, we did a burning ritual. And we did it together, and it felt really good. And both of us like, I can breathe again. Like, everything's cleared, and it's gone now. It's basically whatever intention you put behind it, that's how we break free of that contract. So I did see something earlier. I didn't get to read the entire question. It was very brief, and then it skipped up. Something about twin flames. So let's go ahead and discuss twin flames real quickly here. Now, this is not a popular belief, but again, I'm an Aquarius North Node. I am not here to be popular. So, twin flame is a blueprint at which a lot of individuals have access to. It depends on the levels of consciousness and what soul contracts or individual has come in that time period here to teach you something, to awaken something within you. It's a kundalini activation, things of that sort here. And so I'm a firm believer that everyone can have access to that. And you'll hear other people like, not everyone has a twin flame because they want to feel superior and their spiritual ego is being stroked and they're rock hard with it, right? And that's okay. That's their belief system, but it's very limiting. And the thing is about quantum physics is consistently disproving any limiting beliefs and showing how cells, take over and consciousness is consistently expanding. So it disproves all of those set in stone ways, and the set in stone ways are certain contracts that individuals have signed up to learn and grow through. And that's why you see individuals are like, it's been 15 years and I'm still waiting on my divine masculine or my divine feminine to get it together and love me right. The thing is they were never meant to love you right. You were meant to get your shit together and grow the fuck up and let go of your attachment to a specific thing and setting the bar and putting that person on a pedestal here. The thing is humans crave love so much, and we deserve it. We're all meant to be and experience love, right? But we crave it so much that we tend to romanticize certain activations, certain soul contracts that are not meant to be romantic at all.
Yeah, or even like, it's just like a romanticization of what twin flame even is, right?
Right.
Like the word itself, what it means, and a lot of it is within like the healing community. It's a huge qualm that I've had is that twin flame is like synonymous for toxic partner.
Yes, and karmics and constantly fighting the black magic that the karmic partner is sending you. Oh my God, like every fucking reading is about that. Get over yourselves. Yeah. Sorry, but literally.
Yeah, karmic partners too. And like that's the thing is like, sure, if you want to say twin flames, you can say twin flame, but karmic partners, it's like the same thing. To me anyways, saying, oh, I have a twin flame, that is a soul contract.
It's a soul contract.
A twin flame is a soul contract because it is someone that is karmically tied to you in this life to teach you a particular lesson. And that doesn't even, you can have a karmic relationship with someone that's bliss, that is joy and pleasure. That can be a karmic lesson to you depending on where your soul is at,
and what your soul came to learn.
Yeah, it really just depends on why you came down to this planet to live this life in this vessel, and I think that's something that we should really pay more.
The thing is labels don't exist. Labels are created by the ego, and as long as you're operating in ego, you're never going to fully understand or embody or integrate what your soul is trying to learn. And I'm not discrediting because who they were wasn't nobody, and I'm not saying that. These people are very significant to your soul's purpose in your evolutionary journey here as a human. They are so significant. I'm not taking that away from you. I'm not taking away the experience from you at all. It's so intense, and there was a point in time at which I was like, this is my twin flame, and my twin flame acknowledged that I was their twin flame, right? And at this point in time here, that is just not a timeline that I'm any longer in alignment with. That's why on my channel here, when I do tarot readings, I say divine counterpart, because a divine counterpart is somebody that you're aligned to depending upon your level of consciousness. It doesn't matter what label you give it, because label comes from the ego. The soul just knows what it feels, and it operates in that healthy feeling of safety and action backing up the safety, things of that sort here. And again, your level of consciousness is what level of counterpart that you're going to attract. And so if you're in a low vibrational, think about it. When did you meet your twin flame? When you were like barely awakening? You really think that you were high vibrational? No. So how can you tell me that that person's not karmic to you? And then you get wrapped up in these concepts here that all these other YouTubers are like, the karmic's sending you black magic and they're doing this, and every full moon they're just entrapping your soul and keeping you guys apart. All of that is bullshit. Sure, on what timeline? Lower vibrational timelines. Do you truly resonate with that? For me, I take one look at that and I'm like, blasphemous. Blasphemous. Nobody has control over me. I am sovereign. I am sovereign.
That's such an important point, I feel, too, is like, I feel like there's
not giving your power away.
Yeah, it's all about giving your power away. Like there's also like a fear matrix of like, they're doing voodoo and black magic and da 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 da. And yeah, there is levels to protect yourself, but really, This
when
is
you're
my belief
sitting here on the camera though, and somebody's sending you evil eye, you're doing black magic. When you have a negative thought about the Karen in Walmart who can't control her kids, and you're like, God damn, that bitch can't control her kids. You're sending the black magic. When you flip off a person while you're driving, you're sending them black magic.
It's negative intention that you're sending.
It's just negative energy that you're sending places.
That's all what it is. And
you experience it daily, everywhere.
And allowing yourself to be like, oh, these people are sending me this, da-da-da-da. For me, I think that is just allowing yourself a gateway in order to receive it. Exactly. Because you're lowering your vibration with the fear of what it is that someone else is sending you, so that you're opening yourself up to that. You know, like,
think of Monsters Inc.
Yes.
Think of Monsters Inc. I always use the same example here. The monsters go and they scare the children and they collect the fear, the energy, right? And they you know, live from that. They thrive from that here. And so that's what you're doing. By being afraid of what somebody else can do, you're giving away your power to it, which in which case creates a courting. You have now courted yourself, and you're letting this person siphon you like a gasoline tank until you're empty.
Yeah.
All right.
One thing that there was like a comment on the twin flame thing, where they had said that a twin flame, I thought that a twin flame was supposed to be a lesson within this life, which is correct. Like, a twin flame doesn't have to be...
Every relationship that you come in contact with is going to be a lesson. Even the stranger at Walmart who sat there and told you your entire life story.
Yeah. But the bit there, within the healing community, usually twin flame is romanticized and taken away from that. Like, oh, this is a romantic partner. But honestly, a twin flame can be a teacher. It can be a friend. It can be, like she said, any kind of connection that you have is the potential for a twin flame, because at the end of the day, it's a soul contract. Soul contract, twin flame, synonymous, but the human and the ego likes to romanticize and make excuses for toxic behavior by saying it's a twin flame, instead of maybe your pattern is, maybe your karma in this is to say, no, this is unacceptable. The behavior that you're experiencing with this person is unacceptable, and I'm not going to allow it to happen, you know? And then,
like, honestly, the way that the society romanticizes twin flames, I would say that she's my twin flame then. Oh my God. And I could be like, you're my twin flame. No, you're my twin flame. No, you're my twin flame. And I'm like, this crow's my twin flame. Like, you know, like, but the thing is it's all just me romanticizing it. The truth is based upon my level of consciousness, I'm attracting higher level lovers. Because I put that work in myself. I have levels of detachment that I've mastered. I have levels of manifestation that I've mastered. I have levels of kundalini that I've mastered. I have levels of, you know, polarity that I've mastered. And because of these masteries, these little journeys and these evolutions that I've had with different relationships, platonic or romantic, it brings forth higher levels of lovers. And so that's, I think, also where the confusion comes in, because you'll hear people talk all the time. We're like, that was my false twin flame, but this one's my real one. You know?
Yeah. She was listening to a reading the other day. Well, kind of, she was sleeping, but I think it was like the next one that played, and one of the readers was like, there's about 100,000 twin flame couples that are, you know, paired off. And I was like, well, I don't know where you got those numbers. She's like, I meditated a lot on it and all this stuff. But I was like, I don't know. For me, I just don't really subscribe to that idea. And putting the label on it.
The thing is people want to feel special. They want to feel superior to.
It's all ego.
Then not only that, but they profit off of that, because then once you subscribe to that, you feel special, right? And you're just like a part of something, and it gives you this fire underneath your ass, right? And it's just, you know, truly it creates really toxic environments and soul ties, honestly, because you're consistently subscribed to this energy that's not meant for you, was only meant to propel you into who you're meant to become. And so again, a lot of people, they wait years. Like, you'll hear so many people be like, it's been 12 years and, you know, me and my twin flame have been on and off and and honestly, that means that they've gone through 12 years of still not learning the same fucking lesson from the get-go. You know, and that's just where we stand on that. You guys can develop your own beliefs and meditate on it and connect with your own guides, because your journeys and your experiences are not going to be the same as our journeys and our experiences. And that's where, you know, I wouldn't be compatible with you, right? Because I have a totally different belief system. Whereas her and I are very compatible because we share that belief. Like, we went and saw a psychological movie yesterday, and we discussed the movie afterwards, and it was really cool because I got super excited here when I was like sharing my belief about like the end of the world and the end of times and stuff like that, and how that to me you know, depends upon what timeline you choose to subscribe to. And you know, certain timelines fall off as we raise vibration, raise consciousness, and that's what you hear so many teachers talking about, but they don't put it into that perspective. And I got very excited to talk about that, and it was really cool because she was like shaking her head like, yes, 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 yes. So it just showed another thing that we're very compatible with, and why our souls are aligned at this point in time, because we both agree with those things, you know. And these are things that a lot of people, they don't understand, they don't put thought into. So it's just, again, you are going to attract your level of consciousness. Like, have you ever heard the quote, meet people where they're at, not where you're at?
Yeah.
That's an important one.
It's such, and like, actually, I feel like that one, the farther you get into healing, is even more important, because there's just certain levels that, and this isn't from a superiority thing, it's just meeting someone where they're at, right? If you're trying to explain to a 6-year-old what physics is when they're learning how to do multiplication or even addition, they're going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, it's apples and oranges, you know? Like, so that's, like, meeting someone where they're at, even at the level of consciousness, I think is an important thing too. And that doesn't mean like, oh, you sent me this negative energy, then I'm gonna send it back.
No, we're not talking matching energies. Don't lower your vibration for anybody.
Ever.
No. Nope. You just send them healing, and you don't even have to send them shit. Just be like, angels, guides, I ask you for divine intervention. Thank you for the guidance, the protection, and love. I ask you to transmute this energy however you deem necessary and the highest form possible. If they decide to energetically attack that person, they will. That's for that person. That's the soul contract that was played out. But it has nothing to do with you. It's outside of you. You know? Exactly. Don't let people take your power from you. That's right, Laura. Did you see any other questions and stuff? I know there's a bunch coming through, and we like have not.
We just like to talk a lot.
We're talkers. Let's see. The label of twin, exactly, April, I love your comment. The label of twin flames makes it difficult for people to let go and move on if it doesn't work out too. Exactly. Labels are huge, and we have attachment to specific labels, you know?
Good point.
So what happens when the soul contract is over but the person keeps coming back? It's not over.
Yeah.
Ruckman. It's not over. Your soul contract's not over. The person keeps on coming back. That means that your soul hasn't fully integrated a lesson. Their soul hasn't fully integrated a lesson. Or there's a lot more to learn from that person, even if it is painful or annoying or whatever it may be. Like for me, like with my twin flame, right? If we go into that here, because that's what I subscribed to 6 years ago. You know, that person kept coming back, and they had like they kept coming back like every 6 months. Guess what? It's because I never fully fucking chose myself. I never fully chose myself. And so that person kept coming back around until I proved that I fully chose myself. And in which case they're blocked. They have no way to communicate. You know, and like I would go through this stage of like blocking and unblocking and stuff like that, because I could feel them pulling at my energy and
inconsistency.
Yeah. But the thing is, I was addicted to that pain matrix. I was addicted to what that felt like, and the dopamine hits that I would get when I'm like, I knew they would text me. I knew they would come visit me in the astral.
Ego.
Yeah.
Ego.
You know what I mean? Like, I was so addicted to that. And so it's like recognizing, are you truly choosing yourself? You know, ultimately, that's what the lesson is. Are you choosing healthy boundaries? Do you have healthy boundaries? Like for me, when I put down healthy boundaries, that's when this person started leaving. I literally, the last dream I had with this person was my spirit guides making them with a moving truck pack up their shit and leave. Like in my dream state here, this had happened. And you know, this person hasn't come around since, which has been great for me.
I will say that sometimes your side of the contract is done, it is completed, and that someone else still has the attachment and won't let go.
Right, but your boundaries.
Yeah. But I mean, that's where I only say that because I don't want to like shame people that are trying to get out of their situation or
No,
are trying to cut,
absolutely not.
you know? And I'm not saying you are, but just as like another level of it, right? Like it doesn't necessarily mean that you are still attached to everything and this and this. Sometimes you're either trying to let go, trying to move on in that process, and then the other person just has that attachment so tightly. And then that is kind of like what Carissa's saying, where then you have to block people or you have to be more firm in what it is that you're saying. Or sometimes
stop responding, stop giving your power to, because every single time you respond, you're giving your power to something. You know, if they come back around and like, hey, how are you? Miss you. And it's been 6 months, a year, 3 years, you don't have to respond. And you not responding is what keeps that connection broken up here. It's what cuts that cord. It's once you choose to respond, whether it's energetically responding, physically responding, or astrally responding in the astral here, you're the one that is partaking and keeping that cording there by giving your energy back to that situation. And in which case I would suggest a cord cutting ritual. And you can still purchase that on my site, by the way. It's a 3-step process, to cord cutting for me personally. It's very intense and it takes about 2 hours of your time. You have to do it. I'm not doing it for you though. It's your soul tie, not mine. And so it's really important is the things that I teach people is so that they can do it themselves. They come in, they receive the guidance, what they need, and then I'm like, okay, now go swim, go fly away from the nest, and you can do this on your own. I'm not here to hinder you or be like, I'm the ultimate guide. Not it at all. So, stop looking at me like that.
I'm getting all squirmy.
Well, because I want to kiss you and we're on camera. So, let's see. I want to go back. Oh, thank you, Laura. I just read your comment. That was cute. Okay, let's just go ahead and can you guys please, if you're still here, write down questions. Yeah, just because we've lost them in the chat. I do apologize about that. We're trying our best here, but just still allowing the space and freedom to kind of flow with this because it's not like it's very regimented. So if you guys have a question here that you would like answered in regards to soul contracts, relationships ending or beginning, co-parenting, any of that, we'd be able to answer that in this video. Do I believe in twin souls? I don't believe in labels, Hillary. I don't believe in labels at all. I believe in experiences and I believe in evolution because that's something that is scientifically proven. Labels, though, are just like Versace. Like, it really depends on, there's going to be people out there like, fuck Versace. And there's going to be people out there that are like, all I wear is Versace. Right?
The other bit that you said was, or are we all just mirrors? For me, I do believe that we are mirrors in the sense that inherently we are all one.
Absolutely.
However, I do caution people to default to we are all mirrors because sometimes that's how trauma survivors can very much take on the burden of what has happened to them. And that's why I know, Carissa, I always jump in an interview and I'm like, but, and that's just me with people who...
Baby, you're good. I appreciate your input.
I know. I'm not saying it for you, baby. I'm saying it for them. Okay. I know. But I think that there is some stipulations with that because when you get a little black and white, especially for trauma survivors that have that black and white, it's really, really important to have that distinction that, if you are a victim of abuse, if you are a victim of whatever kind of abuse, mental, physical, emotional, it's not an opportunity for you to be like, where did I call this into my life? How am I the problem? Maybe retroactively after you're out of a situation like that, it would be okay to be like, okay, what was my hand in this? But especially when you're in it, taking care of yourself first and just not allowing yourself to be in that situation.
Oh, I didn't see it. That's a good one. Damn it. What just careful, baby. You can't poke the screen. You have to gently slide your finger you would privately.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, I resonate with that.
So Mexican mermaid, yeah, we're gonna let her take the stage here because her ex-partner also had children and it was an entirely different dynamic. So go ahead and repeat the question. It doesn't have to be word verbatim, but just
It was basically, how do you deal with a partnership that splits up, that there are kids involved? Like, you have a connection, a closeness with those kids, and like the heartbreak hurting almost more with the separation of the kids than even with a partnership. And I actually have two situations with that. When I was like 19, 20 years old, I was dating this girl, and she had a 2-year-old that I just completely fell in love with. Like, I was just like, I'll be daddy. Like, the baby daddy wasn't in the picture at all. It was just like her single mom with the kid, and I was just loved him so much. And we were together for about a year, and we split up, and I made a vow to myself that I was never gonna date anyone with kids again, because it was too painful to actually. It hurt me more to split up and leave her son behind, and he was too young for me to even have that conversation, you know. In my last relationship, she also had 2 kids, and I loved them like nothing. Like, I was just like, I love these kids so much. We had such a good connection, but they were also very, very guarded and very different than how open Carissa's kids are, and they had their reasons for it. But I'd say for me, the hardest part was accepting that it's not my responsibility to be the parent to someone else's child, especially when it wasn't expressed that that's what I should do or should be. My last relationship, it was pretty cut and dry that you're not expected to fill any parent role at all, and you shouldn't take that on. So at the end, there was some disagreements in there, just because there was triggers from her kids involved with abandonment, with me not being around and leaving, and that was really hard. But you kind of just have to take it step by step and choose yourself at the end of the day.
She never had the ability to actually step in and act like a parental figure in that relationship. So that's something that her and I had to discuss, because that's something that she was working through, you know, initially. And I had to remind her, you know, as a parent, it's our role. And so that's where her and I sat down in our new connection and discussed what her role is going to be in my children's life, so that there are very clear boundaries. Now, with my ex, when my ex and I broke up, the one that I was with for like 3 months, I didn't want her to have anything to do with my children. Anything. I literally told my children to block her on the phone. She was just toxic, and honestly, she was the type to lasso them in and use them as like a pawn in some sort of manipulative game that she wanted to play. Now, in relationships and dynamics, so where you have that attachment here, it is kind of like losing, you know, a family member, right? It's like losing somebody that you absolutely love, and in which case it would be appropriate for you and that person that you were dating, the parental figure, to sit down and discuss those feelings and emotions and create potentially a game plan in which you could still be active in the children's lives, if that is something that, you know, the parental figure is open to. That would be a suggestion there, and I know that as a parental figure, that's something that I would like if somebody sat down with me. However, I am more so like, no, our soul contract's done and I don't need you around myself or my children any longer. Now, I do let my children decide for themselves, though, as well. You know, but typically it tends to fade over time, just because it's not that forever. Now, there are people, though, and I can look at like my ex-sister-in-law who has like 20 different baby dads. Just kidding. That was fucked up. Kidding. But like literally, though, she just, you know, she has quite a few different baby daddies, and one of the people that she was with, it's not actually his daughter, yet he still has legal half custody of that little girl, and they still share her. And that was their agreement, was to share her. And, you know, she's growing up feeling like this is my father because this is who's put the time, energy, love, and attention into me. And so that is their agreement and their dynamic. When it comes to healing from that, though, where you don't get that opportunity to kind of be a part of their lives still, you know, because of whether the ending was not good or whatever, you know, you as two adults decide, I feel like the healing part, how would you suggest that? I don't date people with kids, so.
Yeah,
I've got enough for the both of us.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I know. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, got this. I got it.
Yeah, I think it really just depends on what the agreement was before. Communication is really important, and that's kind of what fucked me up in my last bit. Is like, there were moments where my ex would be like, "Promise me that you'll always be in my kid's life after if anything ever happens to me, or if we break up, whatever it is." And at the time, I was like, "Yeah, of course. Like, I want to be in their life." And there was that was also conflicting with what was best and healthiest for me,
and also the actions of the children and stuff like that. They were very guarded. They didn't want anything to do with her. Like when she went back to go say bye to everybody and pack her stuff up and things like that, they didn't.
Well, one did.
Yeah.
One did, give me a hug and talk to me and all that, and the other chose not to, and that's what their prerogative was, which is I respect and honor. But it's just kind of like, the hard part about that was like the inconsistency, where sometimes it was okay, but if a trigger came up, something happened, they would just completely close themselves off, and
so how do you go about healing from that, baby?
So healing from that, I just feel like you gotta intuitively listen to whatever it is you need. For me, it was that I unfortunately had to cut off connections because it wasn't my space to parent, and just based on how my ex and I split up, it didn't feel healthy or right to me. So what was right and good to me in that moment was to just not have a connection at all. For other people, maybe it is to maintain no contact or limited contact with your ex, and just have the relationship with the kids. But I can't answer that question for you. It's literally the same as dealing with a heartbreak of a partner.
It's honoring your emotions,
honoring your emotions. Yeah, and allowing yourself to feel whatever sensations come up for you and to you, like it's like losing a family member, like Carissa was saying, losing the idea of maybe the family that you had, the complete life that you had before. You're grieving that entire process, so allowing yourself to grieve in whatever way and not vilifying yourself for the choice that you make that's right for you. And that was a huge part for me, where it's like I feel like a piece of shit because I don't, it's not like I wanted to back down on my word and say I can't be in your kid's life, but that's what was right for me. And in that too, I had my own abandonment wounds triggered. I had my own stuff, like how my dad left, or my perception of my dad leaving for me. So there's a lot of things that come up, and there's a lot of conversations that you might have to have with yourself that are hard and uncomfortable, but honoring what those are at the end of the day is your quickest way to healing, in my opinion.
Laura, yeah, if there's any form of abuse, I again don't tolerate that. My girlfriend is the exact opposite of that and has provided nothing but value, love, stability, safety, grounding, and very pleasurable experiences. So I'm very giggity, very grateful for her. The question here. Okay, so we answered that for Mexican Mermaid here. Awakening and raising teenagers come from old ways of doing things drastically new ways. I want to change everything. Yep, exactly. Laura.
Wait, there's one my ex-girlfriend is trying. What is that?
No. That was just a comment about a toxic relationship. I'm a firm believer on children come first, and I always put the child first, and my ex-partner wouldn't put the child first. And that really bothered me because I felt like I was wrong on that part. Well, that's where boundaries come in as well, because again, those children chose that person to be their parental figure. And that's not really your responsibility. So it sounds like you may have been taken on a role or responsibility that was not your burden to carry. And I'm not correcting you in any way, because I find that very admirable that you try to take that on. However, you have to keep in mind that that was not your sole contract to fulfill. And those children would have chosen you as their parental figure if they were meant to learn something like that from you. However, you did greatly, I'm sure, impact them in a very positive way, whatever way that was in the time or experience that you had with them. And that's what I would hope that you would walk away from in that situation, or walk away with in that situation, is that you did play a significant role in that life, and that is very positive and courageous of you, and that's really great. However, the other parental figure, they may not feel the same. They might have had and internalized a completely different experience where you're overbearing or you're controlling, or they don't feel like you're right for their children, and that's not really for you to take on either. I mean, if you ask my ex will tell you that they were great with my children. If you ask my children will be like, that bitch was toxic. My kids have fully expressed it. My baby daddy has fully expressed it. My friends have fully expressed it. Like, every single person that saw the dynamic will tell you that was toxic here. But I'm sure if you ask that person, they just went above and beyond because that's their perception. And I'm sure that in their perception, in their way, they did. However, their way was not right for my family.
And I think that that's really important to touch on too, is that maybe it's not so much that the situation is abusive, but maybe it's just not a right fit.
Right.
And I'm not, once again, dismissing any abuse that does happen.
We don't know your relationship or
connection. Don't know. This is just an alternate perspective. So if it resonates, it does. If it doesn't, whatever.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, but
if it doesn't apply, let it fly.
Exactly. But sometimes it's just like what is unhealthy in a dynamic with one person can be very different for another, and it's not like someone is intentionally trying to cause harm. It's just that dynamic isn't right with that person. And then it's when we try to put that relationship or that dynamic in a box and say, no, maybe if we just did this, then it would be fine, instead of acknowledging that this doesn't feel right in my heart, this doesn't feel right in any way, and allowing it to be released so that the thing that is meant for you comes to you. There's a distinction there. And I feel like for me, that's kind of what happened, is I was trying to put my previous relationship and that dynamic in a box and being like, well, if I just change this aspect of myself, or if I just show up this way, then it'll work, or it'll feel good, or whatever. But then it was when I actually began to release that Carissa came into my life, and that all the things that I thought were bad or wrong about how I was showing up, weren't. It was
I gently unraveled.
Yeah, she unraveled, and her kids too. That was a huge thing in my healing, because with coming from kids that were so closed off, which I mean, there's good reasons for why they are, but coming from that and then coming into a home that was so much more open and accepting, and I mean, different challenges, right? Like we did discuss the boundaries and everything else. but it was just so different to me. And for me, I didn't realize how much that my inner child was triggered in my previous dynamic just from my own wounding pattern until I came into this, that I was like, oh, it was me constantly trying to prove that I'm enough and that I'm good enough and that I'm not going to leave because of my own abandonment issues that were reflected, which kind of goes into Amy's question too. It's how do you deal with the challenges of awakening while being a parent and while dealing with or having a relationship? And really, it's just that conscious awareness. It's you checking yourself over and over again about how you're showing up and why you're showing up. I think that your awakening can be twofold. I think you can grow that much faster if you're really honest about yourself and your familial dynamics and partnerships. Honestly, I think I am a firm believer that you don't need to wait until X amount of time in your healing to be in a partnership. I think you can only even grow with yourself to a certain extent until you are in a partnership, because you don't truly see the things that you're doing until you're experiencing them with another person. We came into human vessels, into human existence, in order to connect. That's why we're here. That's why there's that illusion of individuality and the separatism versus divine unity and oneness, is so that we can learn that and learn that we're all connected and have so much to grow within ourselves and within each other. So I mean, when I look at the kids, I try to be very aware of that. Or there's something you said the other day that I was kind of impatient about, but her daughter had was putting away these colored pencils, and they had spilled all in the shelf, and she was just laughing. She just
I thought it was fucking great.
She was laughing.
I love watching my kids learn lessons. I love it. It's so beautiful.
But she was just like, man, if I was that age, I would have lost my shit. And like me, I'm like annoyed. I'm just like, they're colored pencils, like pick them up and put them back in. I didn't say anything, but like that's what I was thinking, right? But after she said that, I was like, I would have done the same. If I was her age too, I would have done the same thing. I would have been so mad. I probably, because I had like so much rage when I was a kid and didn't know how to process my emotions. So I probably would have been like pulling my hair out and I'm like, I had all the colored pencils in perfect order and now I gotta put them back, you know? And it's just like these little things that can be beautiful lessons and mirrors and awarenesses. Same patterns. For you to reflect on yourself, you know, and those little triggers that the kids have, why are they triggering you? Like, what part of you needs attention, you know? And I think it's such a beautiful lesson for me to heal my own inner child by seeing the freedom that Carissa's kids have, you know?
And another thing, like within our relationship, you know, is when I do see her get overstimulated, because she's a very sensitive soul and a very awakened soul, a very conscious soul. So, you know, when we're learning on boundaries and stuff like that with my children, they're still learning that, they're still growing and evolving. Sometimes I see her getting overwhelmed and I go ahead and I just grab her and I like help reground her energy. And I remind her, baby, they're children. Their levels of consciousness not as fully developed as yours. How are you giving your power away to the situation? Now, the thing is I do make her accountable because she is an adult. And she has that responsibility with my children in our life and our dynamic and our agreement with each other. And so that's something that she's still learning through, you know, because again, like she's explained here, other relationships were not the same. Every relationship is going to be different. So you need to know yourself when you're entering into partnerships. When I say know yourself, I don't mean you have to be perfect. Fuck perfection.
Doesn't exist.
But you do have to know your wants, your needs, and desires, and you do have to recognize when they're changing and be open and honest with your partner. Give your partner an opportunity to change with those new needs, new desires, new wants, or whatever it may be, right? Before just being like, fuck this and discard culture. Like, grass is greener. No, the grass isn't always greener. But that's where the discernment really comes in. Now you can read people well. That's awesome, Sandra. I love that.
The last little bit on that too, as far as like dealing with your awakening, I would say too, even sometimes when Carissa is like, they're just kids, like, how is it that you're giving your power away? Like, there's sometimes a little part of me that just wants to be like, you can go fuck yourself. Like, I don't respond that way, but then there's just another trigger there of like inner child stuff for me to look at and reflect on. So also like checking yourself in your partnerships when your partner is holding you accountable and you might be triggered or overwhelmed, you know, it's just another level for you to be aware and choose differently instead of being reactive to whatever your emotional response is.
Absolutely. Amber H said, sorry, I should have been more clear. What are steps to balance out the awakening process when being a parent? Coming from old ways to drastically seeing new ways. Any tips? So the awakening process is, you have to understand, damn it, baby, I told you not to
I wanted to hit the little button.
Okay. Is you have to recognize that, again, your children have chosen you. And they chose to evolve with you. And that's where conscious parenting comes in. Conscious parenting, to me, is having all of those very uncomfortable discussions with your children. All the ones that your parents never had with you. How many times were your parents arguing about bills or money as a child? And when you would be like, is everything okay? And they're like, go away, go to your room, da-da-da-da. And they shunned you from the conversation. Why? Because you weren't adult enough to be a part of it. Wrong. Now, of course, there are things that children should not have to worry about, and I do agree with that, and I can see where my parents were coming from, so I meet them with forgiveness for that. However, I consciously choose to lead, differently as a parental figure. And for me, it's where I sit down and talk with kids about money and how money is an energy and the importance of it and how to utilize it properly and money management. And I will take on that role rather than shunning my kids and being like, money's not for you. You don't need to worry about that. You're a child. No, they are going to fucking grow up and they're going to have to learn about that. And who better to learn it from than a conscious role model, a conscious parent? So through the awakening process, the more that I learn, the more that my children get to learn from me and my own personal experiences because I have conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I talk with them. I talk with them about soul contracts, money, sex. I'm not going to let my daughter learn, well, my daughter's a lesbian, but I'm not going to let my children learn what sex is from some crusty ass kid that doesn't even know about it. You know, it's not gonna happen like that. They're gonna learn everything from me, and if they have we have conversations and they feel safe in this dynamic here of being able to openly discuss these things, they're gonna be less likely to end up in toxic relationships. They're gonna be less likely to end up in situations that are very uncomfortable for them. Because I'm playing a proactive role in their life in which I am showing them how to make decisions for themselves. Right? And all of that's really important. And so when it comes to integrating your awakening here, integrate it through communication and action. You don't just communicate things, we show action and we show proof of it, right? And maybe the proof isn't immediate, maybe it's over time, but it's just about consistently integrating it and explaining why it's being integrated, because children do need an explanation. They don't understand. Think about all the things that you didn't understand when you were a child, you know. You guys, I will get to readings when I get to the readings. I am working on a scheduling plan. We have a lot going on in our lives right now, and we are literally getting ready to... Not yet?
I don't care.
We're literally getting ready to move out of the country. So we have a lot going on in our lives right now. And we have a lot that we're going to be announcing and introducing to the channel. I'm doing my best, and I do appreciate the patience. The pressure doesn't feel great, and pressure doesn't make great things either. At least not when you have ADD. So... I will get to the readings, and I will get to those things as they come about, and I will announce more about what's been going on in our lives personally as time comes in like about a week or two when we choose to announce it. Is it a week or 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
So exciting. Okay, anyways, thank you guys. Thank you so much for the support there.
Yeah.
I will be going live though every single day this week, sharing at least 2 videos and doing 2 signs. Yeah. Today I'm doing Scorpio to finish up the water signs, and then I believe I have to do the fire signs next. So they will be next, and I do appreciate the patience, but I promise you I am going to be more consistent here. I did have the flu last week though.
And your eye got...
And then my eye, because my contacts, and I scratched my eyeball.
It's been a crazy couple weeks.
And then also, before that, I literally thought I'm 12 years old and can do cartwheels and backflips and stuff like that again. So I hit my forehead, and there was just so many things. I will absolutely be doing Aries here. I can't promise what day or time, but I will promise to get it out here in the next few days. Capricorn does go weekly. However, I am playing catch up still. And again, I'm just doing my best here. I do have to go to Costco today.
We have a bunch of,
we have responsibilities that we need to get to, and we're trying our best to balance everything.
Yeah, especially that, and with our dynamic, still finding the grounding there and consistency.
Yeah, because if we had our way, we would lay in bed and do nothing but, you know, all day. All day.
And sometimes we do. So, I mean, balance, you know?
We're finding balance. We're learning to be more disciplined here because, yeah, it just feels better to lay around and do nothing with each other. Okay. All right. Anyways, thank you so much. We appreciate that, Amy. Yes, divine timing, Hillary. Thank you. By the way, I hope you're doing well with all of your decisions that you've been making recently. Thank you for keeping me texted and updated. Changes are always for the best. Awesome. We've got like 10% left on the phone right now. My phone is going to die. We could grab a cord.
Yeah.
But is there any other...
Oh, grab really quick.
Thank you, baby. Yes, exactly. Bringing things to life here. We just know that we're about to enter a huge phase in our new life together, and so it's just so much energetic work going into this new phase and preparing for it. So we've been kind of just taken in a different direction, honestly. But is there any other questions here before we do exit this? I'm then going to go live for the Scorpio reading to finish off my water signs. And then from that point forward, I do have to go adult and just do human shit, like go to Costco. Did we explain how we met? I missed that, y'all. Thank you, the flower child. I have not explained how we met, and you guys would be shocked. So my best friend had met the love of her life through Facebook dating, and I didn't even know Facebook had a dating, first of all. And I just think that online dating is just such crap because I like meeting people more organically. I created a profile, and I was getting just a bunch of hits from like people that I was not interested in at all. I didn't ever like respond to messages or anything. Like, no offense if you're watching this and you support me, I do appreciate that. It's not you. It's just I know when things are aligned and when they're not aligned. And you're so hot. And
they just fed me a PB&J.
Sweet. Really? I want one.
Kids! He's like, you want to sniff it? You want to taste it?
I can smell it. My mouth is watering now.
It smells like garlic out there, baby. They're making PB&Js. I was like, what's going on? Sorry.
Well, anyways, so basically, long story short, I was convinced to make a profile. I was like, fuck it. In my profile, I literally put that I'm open to friendship, and we could see where it goes from there. And
talking about how we met.
Yes, somebody had asked. And then she had it been a couple weeks, honestly, maybe a couple days. I don't know. It wasn't very long, actually. It was probably like 2 weeks, maybe.
What?
Me having the profile, like a week or two.
Yeah.
It wasn't very long. And then she sent me a message. And I looked at her and I was like, this bitch is throwing up the peace sign. She's nerdy as fuck and in a SpongeBob t-shirt.
First of all, it was a button up, open up. I was trying it on at Target. I had a SpongeBob and an open up, button up SpongeBob shirt, which I'll have you know.
She looked like she was 16.
Most people didn't even know it was a SpongeBob shirt because it was very incognito. It's not my fault you're a fucking nerd.
Okay, so regardless, I responded with a SpongeBob quote, and I think I asked her if she missed the bus to Bikini Bottom or something like that, and we bonded over that, and
then
made her
I was
laugh.
like, what's your trauma?
Yeah, and then she immediately was like, what type of trauma have you healed through? And I was like, what? Okay. So we just kind of got into talking. We talked for like honestly a good month before we even met in person, because both of us were going through shit at the time. I had just gone through a 3-month relationship that was very fucked up. You know what I mean? And so it just wasn't right for us to kind of meet immediately. And I feel like divine timing really just brought us together when we were ready. And like I said, the first time we ever met, she came over to my house and did laundry, so it wasn't very romantic or anything. It wasn't like
You're just saying that for
sexy.
Them. She did my laundry the first day.
That's just me. I'm a Capricorn.
And then I got mad at her for doing my laundry.
Because she's a Capricorn.
Did you even separate my whites?
And I did not. No, I did.
No,
I did.
You
it was the
didn't.
load of whites that I threw in that you got mad because you're like, I have to wake up in the morning. And I wasn't planning on doing them. I was like, I thought you just wanted all your laundry done. Yeah. I had no negative intent behind it. I thought I was doing something nice.
I was like, you're trying to trap me here. You don't want me to leave. And then I didn't leave. So.
Yes. Nope. We did not sleep together on the first night, though.
I mean.
Well, we did, but not like sexually.
Yeah.
Nope. She was very respectful. It was interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Panda.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, don't bring that up. I already know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it is wholesome. Thank you, the flower child. I appreciate that. This is the first relationship that you guys are literally witnessing me share. When have I ever shared a relationship openly? People have literally begged me and been like, I will give you $20 to show me what your partner looks like. And I just have never done it because I never cared to. With our dynamic, though, I feel like our dynamic is mutually beneficial for everyone involved. And that's something that I think her and I both have no problem being vulnerable and real and raw, and sharing parts of ourselves that, you know, even if it's failure at points in time, I think that her and I are really good at communicating and talking about that and sharing that experience with others. So that helps you guys also learn that it's safe for you to do that as well for yourselves. And that's ultimately the goal here, is to, you know, create that pathway for everyone else to kind of be their most authentic selves.
Yeah.
That's so absolutely true. The flower, yeah.
Like, literally, yeah.
Did you share your last relationship?
No.
Yeah, see? No. It's such a Capricorn thing to hide the ones that we know we're not going to be with for a long time.
No. Yeah, that was like it was a conscious choice on both of our parts. But, yeah. Did, like, super, like, no one knows that we were, even in, like, really my personal, there's only, like, 2 or 3 people that even knew we were a thing. So, yeah, super private. And in fact, like, no partner that I've had has even met my family. She's gonna meet my family, though.
I meet the family.
Yeah.
In, like, 2 weeks. Really fucking nervous. So send good vibes here, because I just don't have the best experiences. Like, my ex-husband's family hates me, but mainly for religious reasons. They're Muslim and I'm technically, like, Catholic, so
me too. Italian Catholic.
Yeah, we're both Italian, we're both
baptism
Catholic essentially, but we're both on a spiritual journey, so we're not very religious in our practices. However, we do pray and stuff like that. Like, we know what we are. That doesn't matter. That's not. But, you know, basically I was hated by my ex's family because I'm Catholic and they're Muslim, and their country had gone to war over that, and their father partook in that war personally. So
yes, my mom is all about that. She's, as long as I'm happy, that's why I'm, like, not stressed at all about my mom. She literally is just like, as long as you're happy, baby, then that's all I care about. We literally had that conversation on the phone the other day, because I was like, she's a little nervous, and she's like, she has no reason to be nervous. But yeah,
I'm just nervous due to my own past experiences. That's my own projection, and that's something that I'm trying to work through over the next 2 weeks, like, to kind of gain footing here, so I don't act awkward, because I will act awkward, and I'll get really quiet, and she knows I'm far from quiet. Like, I'm literally, there's a meme here which I saved, and I thought it was so funny, because it's me, where it's like, be his piece, and then me, and I'm SpongeBob in the background that's like, you know, and that is literally our relationship here.
I mean, we're both SpongeBob there. Like,
Krusty Krab pizza for you and me. We're both obnoxious. You have no idea. We'll walk through Walmart and we make people crack up at the stupid shit that we do all the time. We are both singing, dancing.
Sometimes I just have my own skit.
We're in our own world.
I just say shit to see if anyone else is gonna be reactive
all
to
the
it.
time. What did we say at Harmon's the other day? She's like, oh my god, they have this? And I'm like, yeah, baby, it's been a long time since you were in prison for a while. So, like, we do our own things to, like, entertain each other.
Or the toilet paper comment in Harmon's.
What was the toilet paper comment that I made?
We walk by, like, these big burly guys, and they're like, yeah, babe, we gotta get all this toilet paper for all the anal play we're doing.
Yeah, so we, like, do these things, and it's strictly for our entertainment, but like, we just get each other in that way, and it's so great. Like, we have no shame or embarrassment, because honestly, we're, like, punking the other people, not vice versa, you know? Oh my god, all the anal play, that was a good one. That was so funny. And she'll just, like, go with it too. Like, if I say that she just got out of prison, she'll go with it and be like, yeah, that was gnarly. I was, you know, in there for 5 years for this, and, like, the cashier is just like, like, and then me and her are just role playing it. We love it.
Yeah, I think there was one bit when we were at Walmart and we were closing out, and I was just like, I'm sorry, baby, I know it's 25 cents over. I'm not allowed to spend the card like this. Like, acting like I beat her.
That was another good one. Like, you're gonna pay for this later. We'll find a way for you to earn that 25 cents. It's just really dumb. We're super dumb. Our relationship is very playful and fun. I'm very appreciative. I'm so grateful. She is literally everything that I prayed for and wanted. And yeah, again, I'm grateful. I mean, my ex will tell you, I told her all the time, like, you're not fun. Like, I found somebody who matches my inner child and has no problem or doesn't care what other people think. Like, other people get sick, oh my God, why are you doing that? You know, and they care, and she just doesn't. She's a lot like me. We're both very free, and I feel like two free souls are meant to be with each other, because if you have one soul that's trying to constantly control and restrain and stuff like that, and then you've got a free soul, like, opposites attract until it's that dynamic, and then it doesn't, because you're constantly holding or anchoring down the person who is free spirited. You just told them this morning. That's great, Hillary. All right, let's see. I'm so glad that you could catch it as well. It's funny you mentioned that. Families Catholic don't approve of being spiritual. Amy, that's another one. Religious trauma is huge. We're going to discuss that in a different video.
Yeah, God, trauma is real.
Yeah, we have so many topics. Again, if you guys would please kindly go to my community board. There's a recent post that I posted this morning, and comment different topics that you guys would like us to discuss. And at the end of every discussion, we will always open up our chat for questions. So it's best to save the questions for last. That way we don't lose them like we did today, which we're learning. This is new to me. This is new to her. But we will always open that up, because it's kind of like podcast style, but for you guys, really. We don't benefit from this. We're just hoping that you guys mutually benefit from our personal experiences, our perspectives. And again, our perspectives aren't necessarily right. You have to discern what's right for you.
Maybe we should do something like, I know not everyone stays for the entirety of the live. Maybe even if it was like a penny or something, like to do a donation so their thing pops up, and then we can answer that question.
They have it on here. There's subscriptions. We could set up a subscription where they can join these weeklies.
Yeah, something like that. Because I know that sometimes we can be long-winded. Like, we're at like an hour and 13 minutes right now. So if someone had a question at the beginning for like the first thing, maybe we can figure out something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My inner child was so triggered because they were always so serious. And that's one thing that, like, well, I'm not going to describe it, but they threw that against me. And they're like, you told me I'm not fun. And I'm like, well, you're not. Like, this is not fun. None of this relationship has been fun for me. It's triggered nothing but all of my trauma. My nervous system is fucked right now. Like, it's not fun. And I don't think that that's an insult unless you know that you're a controlling, narcissistic person that cares what anybody else thinks. Like, sorry, I don't think that's an insult. And that's why not everybody's meant for each other. Like,
and I mean, maybe someone who's a fucking stick in the mud with one partner is going to be super fun with their next, you know?
Exactly.
It's like, that's the other thing, too. It's like, just because it's not a match with the person that you're with doesn't mean that there's not someone that is a perfect match. And I think it's kind of ego-driven to think. There's fucking 8 billion people on this planet. You're going to tell me that there's not someone that can match the energy in a way that's going to be healthy and good? Like, no. If they're not, if that's a consistent thing, then you probably need to do some work on yourself or your partner. But I mean, if you're attracting those people, it's probably an internal thing. So
an internal thing, exactly. Yeah, no. But I'm grateful though, like, attracting her she's spiritually aligned. We share a lot of similar beliefs. We are both really fun and funny, and our inner child loves to play. And that's important, because shaming my inner child or trying to, like, put my inner child down because you're embarrassed is just not gonna happen. It's not gonna be able to work for me. I mean, even in my past relationship, I remember the time where I shared with you, you know, that I said to my ex, I was like, what, is my dick showing, or why is he staring right there, you know? And my ex mentioned, yeah, it is. It's hanging out of your pants right now. So, you know, it doesn't matter. It's like, I always need those relationships in which I can say my absurd things and have fun. Like, this is a matrix. I didn't come here to get stuck in shadow work consistently and stuff like that. I like to grow in pleasurable ways, and for me, a pleasurable way is letting my inner child out to be seen and letting her have fun and play and be silly and prank people. I don't know about you guys, but I grew up on Star 67. Is it Star 67? Where you blocked the phone number?
Oh, yeah.
Or Star 69 was call back. and then star 67 was blocking your number so I could prank call and be like, is your fridge running? You know? All right, so I grew up in that generation, right, of prank calls, and so that's really important to me. I like having fun with people in the Matrix, and I don't care what they think. Like, I hope that they go home and make a Facebook status and be like, yo, there was 2 girls walking by who bought a 40-pack of toilet paper because of anal play. And I can't wait to be the motive for that status. That thrills me. I love it. And so certain things like that, again, recognize compatibility and new connections as well, and don't try to force things. Don't fucking force it. All right, I think we're good here, baby. I feel like we're just kind of beating around the bush at this point in time now.
I think we've been beating around the bush for the last 20 minutes, really.
Honestly, yeah. Like, let's narcissistically talk about how good we are for each other, baby. Just kidding.
Best couple ever.
Hashtag couple goals. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Can't wait to clown those people at Costco today.
I know. Yes, Costco goals. There you go, Hillary. Nice sync right there. Yeah. Y'all avoiding Costco. What are you talking about? I can't wait to go eat all the food and snacks. Yeah. I've had nothing to eat today. I'm hungry.
That's the other thing.
All I've had is my green juice with like chlorella and all those healthy things.
I had an apple too.
Thanks for sharing your apple. She did not share the apple. Anyways, I love you guys and I appreciate you. What time is it? It's Sunday, 2:43. It's 3. I'm gonna do the Costco run and then I will promise to get out Scorpio today though. All right. We'll see you guys next time we go live. Again, don't forget to comment on that community board, give us topics and ideas, and we will just kind of randomly pick when we feel inclined to come live. But typically once a week. We also might work out some sort of situation as well where we could do like a subscription where you pay $1 or something like that to listen to these conversations. For those that don't want to listen to these, you don't have to, but yeah, we'll figure that out here. Drop your suggestions. We love to hear it. We appreciate your guys' support,
or even too like what kind of classes you guys would want to see or potentially be a part of.
Classes as well, very important here. You know,
we do have the feminine masculine,
the yin and yang class on March 1st. If you guys are not signed up for that, I highly suggest it. It's gonna be great.
But we want to do at least a class a month, if not more, if there's demand for it. You know, and we do have some ideas of building what we already have, but yeah, definitely any suggestions of what you guys would like to learn or want more in-depth explanation on particular topics. Yes, classes please. Hillary's with it. Yeah
we will work on all of that. We'll create a game plan. Where do I find the classes, Laura? flavoredvivid.com. That's also where you can book either myself or even Francesca for online coaching. You can book me for personal tarot readings there as well. Just kind of whatever your preference is. Classes, though, are the cheapest way to go because they are the cheapest service that are available on my site. So if you feel like you can't afford online coaching or one-on-one like that, classes are the way to go to gain the most from us. And we do the same thing where we kind of over talk and we answer all these questions and it goes way off subject into other subjects, and there's just a lot to gain from those personal or those experiences because they are done live. So they're just done privately via Zoom.
I do really enjoy one-on-one clients, so I do have some clients with my other job, but as far as clients with this, I would love to take on some clients if you guys wanted to do some one-on-ones. I love it. It's great.
She's really good at being very nurturing and creating grounding here and perspective. But anyways, okay, we love you guys. We will see you guys next time. I love how your bun's falling.
It was loose when I came on.
Okay. All right, and with that, we're